Welcome to the Tennet Indigenous Wisdom Research Center. I am your host, author Tennet Setegn. In this broadcast series, we explore the profound mysteries within our research. Ethiopian esoteric philosophy and alchemy. Our journey into channeling hidden wisdom begins now.
What if your physical body isn't actually, you?
Yeah, that is a pretty jarring thought to start with.
Right. But think about that for a second. We walk around completely assuming that our bodies are our singular unified identities.
Like a solid block of self.
Exactly. But what if your body is fundamentally just, a biological Airbnb?
Oh, I like that analogy.
Like a temporary venue or a rental space where unseen forces, your thoughts, basic elements, maybe even outside energies, just crash for a little while before moving on.
It completely shatters how we view our own reflection in the mirror, honestly. Because we take the solid, tangible nature of our world entirely for granted.
We really do.
You touch a wooden table, you feel the grain, and you just think, okay, this is real, this exists.
Yeah.
But we almost never stop to consider the actual mechanics of that existence. Like, how did the abstract idea of a table or a building or a human being cross the boundary from an unseen possibility into a heavy physical reality that you actually have to navigate around?
And that boundary is the exact mission of our deep dives today. If you're listening right now, we are exploring some incredibly rich, challenging source material.
We really are. It's fascinating stuff.
We're looking at part 6 of the Tennet Research Series by author Tennet Setegn. And this text maps out a profoundly detailed Amharic cosmological framework.
Right. And today we're focusing on two massive concepts within that framework.
Yeah, we're going to figure out how unseen ideas actually take physical shape, and then once they have a shape, the physics of how they exert power over everything else.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to look at the stage the author is setting. In Tennet Setegn's cosmology, there are 10 creations in the heavenly realm.
Okay.
And 3 of those creations are entirely unseen. We are dealing with 2 of those unseen forces today, which are intimately connected, right? Time and power.
And the author tackled time in the previous installment.
Exactly. So our focus today is power, which in Amharic is called hail. But you run into a logical wall if you try to study physical power without understanding the physical object that is actually holding it.
Right, because you can't have a force pushing against the world if there isn't a solid thing doing the pushing.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can talk about force and influence, we need the mechanics of how things even manage to materialize at all.
We have to move from the abstract, invisible realm to the grounded, earthly realm.
Yeah, so how does the text describe that crossing over?
Well, the author uses a specific term for that exact threshold. It's called gizvet.
Gizvet.
Yeah. In this framework, gizvet is the moment of physical manifestation. It is the absolute attainment of physical shape or magnitude.
So before something achieves gizvet, it's just...
It might exist, but it's completely abstract. It's an idea floating in the ether,
Wow, okay.
Gizvet is the crossing over. It's the moment something becomes measurable, occupies space, and basically gains a physical boundary.
It's the transition from a concept into a fact. But it doesn't just happen randomly, right? I mean, the source text outlines a set of strict mechanics for how an object actually pulls this off.
Oh, absolutely. There are 4 defining attributes that govern anything taking physical shape.
Let's go through them.
The very first rule of gizvet is a concept called amsala, which translates to likeness.
Likeness.
Right. And this establishes a really wild premise. Nothing in the physical world is completely new. Every physical object you interact with on Earth is actually just a likeness, a reflection of a pre-existing blueprint from the unseen heavenly realm.
So nothing is truly original down here. The physical world is just a mirror.
Essentially, yes.
The author uses a really grounded example for this, right? Like, think about an architect or a builder designing a house.
That's a great way to visualize it.
That house doesn't just spontaneously generate out of the dirt. Long before the first physical brick is laid, the entire structure has to exist as a complete, complex image in the builder's mind. It's the physical house that eventually goes up is just a likeness of the unseen mental blueprint.
And if the blueprint doesn't exist, well, the physical structure has no template to follow. It cannot exist.
Makes sense.
When a creation comes into the earthly realm and achieves gizvet, it isn't arriving empty-handed. It is dragging its heavenly blueprint into the physical space.
So is this essentially just the mechanics of a 3D printer?
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Well, if you think about it, the little plastic widget that gets printed out on your desk isn't the original thing.
Yeah.
The actual reality is the digital CAD file living in a higher, unseen cloud.
Right.
The physical widget is just the AMSOL. It's the likeness that has been given a physical magnitude.
That is spot on. Think about the underlying logic of that 3D printer. The digital file in the cloud isn't bound by gravity or physical space. It's just code.
Yeah.
But the moment you print it, the moment it achieves gizvet, it is suddenly subject to the laws of physics. The blueprint completely dictates the physical output.
Because you cannot print a sphere if the code is written for a cube.
Exactly. The earthly reality is entirely subordinate to the unseen form.
But once that 3D printed object is sitting on the desk, it's no longer just code. It has a front, a back, a top. It's suddenly interacting with the physical space around it.
Which forces it to adopt the second attribute of gizvet, which the author calls direction.
Direction, okay.
Yeah, the unseen realm might be infinite and directionless, but the earthly realm is strictly finite. If you are going to claim physical magnitude, you have to follow the rules of geometry.
Keep you locked in.
You are. You are now bound by the 4 cardinal points: north, south, east, and west, or up, down, left, and right.
The text gives a fantastic visual for this limitation. It says to imagine a 3D sphere.
I love this analogy.
If you take a knife and slice that sphere into 4 equal pieces, each of those distinct slices represents a facet or a direction of its physical existence.
Right.
The sphere only exists as a solid object because it occupies those multiple directions all at once.
It's a really profound way of saying that to exist physically is to accept limitation. To be seen, to be touched, to interact with other physical things, you must confine yourself to a specific coordinate grid.
You sacrifice the boundlessness of the unseen just to gain tangibility.
Exactly. You are now locked into an orientation.
But taking up space creates a massive vulnerability. Once that physical object is occupying those 4 directions, it's exposed.
You're very exposed.
It's subjected to the environment, to weather, to time. It can be broken, melted, or destroyed. So how does the universe keep track of what is actually supposed to be here and what has been removed?
That requires an accounting system, and that is the third attribute of gizvet zegub, which basically translates to registration.
Registration.
Yeah. The framework argues that the cosmos maintains a ledger of physical creation. The moment something achieves magnitude and takes up space, it is officially registered in that earthly ledger.
The cosmic ledger.
Right.
The source text uses a very raw, natural example to explain the mechanics of this. Imagine a tiny bird or a worm coming into the earthly realm.
Okay.
The split second it is born, it gets a stamp, it is registered, it has achieved Zegub.
But that stamp is just a temporary visa. It is not permanent.
Oh, definitely not.
The author notes that the moment that bird dies, or the moment that worm is eaten by another animal, its physical registration is immediately revoked.
It's just gone.
It is crossed out of the earthly ledger, and its physical magnitude, its gizvet, is entirely canceled.
Wait, if the registration is canceled and the physical body is destroyed, what happens to the blueprint?
Yeah.
Does the unseen file get deleted from the cloud too?
No, and that is a critical distinction in this cosmology. Zegub is strictly about your registration in the physical dimension.
Your time on the board.
Exactly. When the physical body is erased from the ledger, its unseen essence, the blueprint in the cloud, persists elsewhere.
Okay, that makes sense.
It simply loses its earthly passport. It can no longer interact directly with the coordinate grid.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If I only have this physical registration for a limited amount of time, what is the actual point of the physical body?
That is the big question.
If the blueprint is the real me, and it persists after the body is gone, then my physical form isn't really my identity at all.
And this is where the framework fundamentally challenges how we view ourselves. We tend to operate under the assumption that I am my body and my body is me.
Right. A singular block of identity.
But the fourth and final attribute of gizvet shatters that. The author calls this attribute Maduria, or dwelling.
Dwelling.
Having a physical shape means you have the capacity to act as a container.
A container for what?
For everything else. A physical form in this framework is never entirely empty.
Really?
Yeah. The human body, for instance, operates as a dwelling place for the 4 core elements: fire, earth, water, and air.
Okay.
But it scales up from there. The body is also the venue that hosts your thoughts, which are themselves unseen forces bound by time.
And the text even argues that external, unseen entities or spirits can come and dwell in this physical form. It's an active ecosystem.
Right.
a partnership between the tangible walls of the body and the invisible forces taking up residence inside. Which brings me back to the Airbnb thought at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, it really does.
If my body is just a venue providing the four directions and the physical space for all these unseen forces to interact with the world, well, I'm really just the host.
What's fascinating here is how accurately that captures the Amharic metaphysical view. You are a biological venue.
Wow.
You are providing the physical scaffolding, the gizvet, so that these unseen energies have a place to dock and actually influence the earthly realm.
Okay, so let's lock in this first half of the journey. To pull something from the unseen into the physical, you need an unseen blueprint that gets a likeness.
Right.
That likeness is given physical coordinates, taking up direction. It signs the guestbook of existence through registration. And it functions as an ecosystem, a dwelling for other forces. So we've fully constructed a physical entity in the earthly realm.
We have the scaffolding. We've established how it takes up space and how it hosts energy.
But a venue just sitting there is kind of passive, right?
Very passive. A building doesn't do anything on its own.
So the real question is, how does this newly minted physical entity start pushing back? How does it actually influence the things around it?
Which means we have to dive into the second unseen force we mentioned earlier, hail, the Amharic concept of power.
Yes, hail. We know what the machine looks like. Now we need to understand the physics of its engine.
Exactly. And just as gizvet had 4 rules of manifestation, hail is built on 3 foundational pillars.
Okay, 3 pillars.
You cannot exert physical power without these 3 mechanisms operating in tandem. The very first pillar is called Ma'ekele, which means the center.
The center. Meaning power isn't just evenly distributed across the universe. It doesn't lightly coat everything like a layer of dust.
No, power is the exact opposite of diffusion. Think about the physics of leverage or force. If you take a light bulb and diffuse its energy across a massive room, it provides a gentle glow. But if you take that exact same amount of energy and concentrate it into a single focus point, you get a laser that can cut through steel.
Oh, wow.
Diffused energy cannot exert meaningful force. To have hail, power absolutely must consolidate. It requires a focal point.
The author uses some incredibly clear structural examples to show how this works in reality, too.
Yes, he does.
If you look at a traditional roundhouse, the true power of that structure isn't in the walls or the roof. It is entirely concentrated in the single central pillar.
Right.
All the weight, all the pressure is directed to that one point.
Yeah.
If you chop down that single center, the entire house collapses instantly.
That central pillar is the Ma'ekele. And if we zoom out to the ultimate scale of our earthly realm, the source material points directly to the sun.
The sun.
The sun is the ultimate center of physical power in our neighborhood of the universe. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid is tethered to that single hyper-concentrated point of energy.
Yep.
The sun possesses hail because it acts as the absolute center of gravity.
But the moment you concentrate all the power in the center, you create an imbalance. If the sun has all the gravity, well, the planets have to react to it.
Exactly.
You naturally create a dynamic between the strong and the weak, which brings us to the second pillar of Hail Kiber, or honor.
Power and honor are locked together in this cosmology. Because power demands centralization, the entity that manages to occupy that center, the one holding the hail, automatically generates Kibir.
Right.
Honor, in this sense, isn't about politeness. It's about the freedom to dictate terms. The center gains the authority to rule over everything orbiting it.
Going back to the sun, the text notes that it holds immense honor in our realm, and you can clearly see why.
Oh, yeah.
Its concentrated power dictates the entire hierarchy of the solar system. It decides the speed of the orbits. It dictates the changing of the seasons on Earth.
Exactly.
Having the center of power inherently gives an entity the ability to determine the rank and elevation for all the lesser entities caught in its pull.
It really does.
But hold on. Let's play this out socially, because this has massive implications. As a modern society, we constantly strive for flat structures.
They do.
We want democratic systems, we want equal footing, we want to dismantle hierarchies. But if this framework argues that power mechanically requires a center, and the center inherently creates a hierarchy of honor, does this mean that true equality is physically and metaphysically impossible?
That is a tough question.
Are we just hardwired by the universe to constantly organize ourselves into a hierarchy?
This raises an important question about the difference between moral philosophy and mechanical force. From a moral standpoint, obviously, we value equality.
Right.
But from the perspective of hail, raw, perfectly distributed equality is inert. It's the diffused light bulb.
Oh, I see.
If power is perfectly equal everywhere, there is no leverage. Nothing moves, nothing is built. To accomplish anything, to construct a house, to maintain an orbit, to organize a society, power must concentrate.
So it's just a mechanical reality.
Yes, and the split second it concentrates, you have a center and you have a periphery. You have the entity with honor and the entities orbiting it. In this framework, you simply cannot wield influence without generating hierarchy.
That is a deeply unsettling but, fascinating way to look at human organization. You literally can't have action without a center of gravity.
Right.
But if the center has all the honor and all the power, how does it deal with the periphery? Does it just crush the lesser entities to maintain its position?
That's a very common misunderstanding of power, and it actually brings us to the third and final pillar of Hale.
Okay.
Because true power in this framework is not destructive, it is constructive. The third pillar is Akim, which translates to capacity.
Capacity. Usually we use that word to mean volume, like how much water a jug can hold.
In this context, capacity is the volume of your influence. It is defined as the ability to consolidate others under a single, unified identity.
Consolidate.
Okay. It is vital to understand the mechanism here. Capacity is not about swallowing your competitors or destroying the lesser entities. It is about subsuming them.
Subsuming. Taking the many and bringing them under one name.
Yes.
The author gives a really practical, everyday example of this from his own life, doesn't he?
He does.
He runs a workplace called the Tennet Research Center. It's named after his own identity, Tennet. Now, there are dozens of brilliant people working there doing their own distinct tasks.
Right.
But when the outside world talks about the work being done, they don't list 50 different names. All of those individuals are consolidated under his name. They work under the Tennet umbrella.
The author isn't destroying his employees' individuality. They still have their own gizvet, their own physical reality.
Sure.
But his Hale, his capacity, acts as the center of gravity. Their collective output is subsumed into his center. He also uses the macro example of a nation, actually.
Like a whole country.
Yeah. Millions of individual citizens make up a country. But on the global stage, the actions of that entire nation are often referred to simply by the name of its prime minister or president.
Oh, true.
The leader's capacity draws the millions into one recognizable point of influence.
So what does this all mean for how we operate today? Think about a massive corporate tech giant.
Okay, good example.
Let's say this giant decides to acquire a dozen smaller, highly innovative startups. The tech giant doesn't fire everyone and burn those startups to the ground. That would destroy the value.
Exactly.
Instead, the startups keep functioning, the engineers keep coding, the software keeps running.
Right.
But, and this is the mechanism of capacity, their code is rebranded. Their individual innovations, their power, all rolls up into the parent company's ecosystem.
Yes.
The parent company has the Akim to subsume them all. The startups still exist, but they are now generating gravity for the center, not themselves.
That perfectly illustrates the physics of influence. The lesser entities still have their manifestation, but their overarching direction and their honor have been surrendered to the center.
They're caught in the orbit.
Exactly. True power isn't the ability to break things. Power is the capacity to make things orbit you and carry your name.
That completely changes how you look at a simple corporate org chart, honestly.
It really does.
Okay, we have covered some incredibly deep architectural philosophy today. Let's bring it all back to the surface and trace the through line for you, the listener.
Good idea.
We started by figuring out how the abstract becomes tangible through gizvet. We learned that physical reality isn't random. It's anchored by an unseen blueprint.
Right.
To take up space, it accepts the limitations of direction, it gets stamped into a cosmic ledger of registration, and ultimately, it is built to act as a dwelling, a venue for unseen forces to crash in.
And once that physical venue is established, we explored how it actually moves the world through Hale, or power. We saw the mechanics of why power cannot be diffused. It must have a center. That center inherently generates gravity and a hierarchy of honor.
Right.
And finally, true power operates through capacity, the ability to subsume others into a unified identity, absorbing their output without destroying their actual existence.
So how does this apply to us?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding these ancient Amharic frameworks isn't just an academic exercise.
Right. Very practical.
It gives us a totally new lens to view our own reality. It challenges you to look at your body not just as meat and bone, but as an active venue hosting unseen energies.
Yeah.
And it challenges you to look at the power structures you participate in every single day, your office, your local government, your social circles, and see the invisible physics of centers, honor, and capacity playing out in real time.
It makes the invisible mechanics of our world suddenly very visible. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought.
Oh yes, the teaser.
Right. At the very end of the source text, the author drops a brief teaser. He mentions that the next installment, Part 7, will explore a concept called Tot, which translates to an idol, or a worshipped entity.
That is going to be a heavy one.
It really is. So, keeping the physics of power we just learned in mind, I want you to mull over this. If a physical manifestation successfully builds a massive center, consolidates immense power, and uses its capacity to subsume everyone else's identity under its own umbrella, at what point does a center of power stop being just a boss or a corporate structure or a government and become an idol?
That's a great question.
At what point does a system stop merely influencing you and begin demanding your worship? Look around at the structures in your own life and ask yourself what orbits you are caught in.
Something to really think about.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the unseen forces around you, keep examining the blueprints, and we will see you next time.